and welcome back. Today we're going to speak about the record poverty high in Germany, and we'll see how it went there. Before we dive into the topic, please do me a favor, as usual. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps me grow my YouTube channel and it helps me bring you more interesting economic topics. So, today we're going to read an article from Yahoo Finance that speaks about Germany's poverty rate rising to record high. So, Germany's poverty rate rose to a record high of 16.1% in 2025, leaving around 13.3 million people classified as poor, according to a report published on Tuesday by an umbrella group for charitable organization. So let's stop for a moment and take a look at the numbers. So over 30 million people classified as poor living in poverty. So a bit over 16% of the total population. And the figure was up from 15.5 percentage an year earlier and marked the highest level since comparable records began, the association said. So this comes as no surprise because as the economic nightmare, let's say, continues year after year, the cost of living goes up, the real wage goes down, and people are struggling more and more to afford the cost of living. So, as a definition in the EU, people are considered at risk of poverty if their income is below 60% of the national median. And in Germany, that threshold was about 1,446 euro, or close to $1,700 per month for a single person household, and a bit over 3,000 euro for a household with two adults and two children under 14. So the numbers here are really not impressive. I mean, this threshold doesn't really amount to much if you need to pay rent or mortgage, if you need to buy groceries, if you need to afford transportation and utilities and such. And this welfare group said that the increase reversed the decline record between 2020 and 2023 and pointed to widening social disparities. Yeah, it comes of no surprise that they've realized that the rich grow richer and the poor get poorer. And in terms of regions, the poverty rates were lower in the southern states of Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg, Germany's stronger regional economies, with 12.6 and 13.2 respectively. Again, it comes as no surprise that older people are more affected. With nearly 1 in 5 people aged 65 or older classified as poor or at risk of poverty. And this unfortunately is the case because older people need medical care. They tend maybe to spend more money on getting this care, medicines and stuff. So definitely they spend more in the health sector than young people. Then single person households, single parents and people with lower levels of education were disproportionately affected. Of course, we've talked about this. There are fewer and fewer jobs for the less qualified. And with AI on the rise, the situation is going worse. So here, the report's authors saying poverty was rising, particularly among groups facing structural disadvantages and limited access to the labor market. So 4 out of 5 people affected were not in employment. So of course, the people not working are affected harder. Of course, it's harder for them to live just on social help or unemployment benefits. And according to the report, 70% of those living in poverty were German citizens, while 30% held foreign nationality. And of course, we know that there were a lot of migrants coming to Germany over the past years. It was pretty difficult to integrate most of these foreign populations. So it comes as no surprise that 30% of them um, are struggling with poverty, despite the fact that in Germany there's a pretty good social welfare system. So, if I recall correctly, they get a fixed amount of euro each month just for existing. So, let's say. The report said many households were struggling to cover everyday expenses. Close to 7% of the population lacked sufficient income last year to meet regular living costs. So they couldn't even meet regular living costs, including higher energy bills. Yeah, there's no surprise. Again, we've seen energy price skyrocket, and with the Iran war, it's getting worse and worse. So thank you, Trump and Netanyahu, for that, and replacing essential household appliances. So we don't even speak about costs for leisure, for entertainment, for taking a vacation. There are surely no funds for that. If these people just basically struggle um, to fulfill their basic needs. So this is a very interesting article, and I've also liked the comments below. Basically, uh, people complaining that this is the inevitable price to pay for the privatization and for private doctors, private medicines, and then the infrastructure, yeah, being bad, and then the automobile sector, they said. And of course, there's a lot of criticism about the use policy, which is really making producers fall behind China or other Asian economies where the restrictions are not that serious. And it's funny how it's saying that the collective West is destroying itself. Uh, but this is not a conclusion I can argue with, so he might be right. Now, if we talk about Germany, let's go a bit back in history. So, after World War II, and during the post-war period, a number of researchers found that despite years of rising affluence, many West Germans, because after the war, Germany was split into West Germany, which was a capitalist state, and then East Germany, which had a communist regime, like the Eastern Europe countries. So even in West Germany, many people continue to live in poverty. So in 1972, a study by the Social Policy Design Making and Indicator System, or SPES, estimated that poverty affected over 1 million persons. And 3 years later, in 1975, a report on poverty published by a CDU politician um, called Heiner Geisler estimated that poverty was at 5.8 million. So in the 70s, poverty quickly increased. And the report also showed that low pay was a major cause of poverty. So again, the disbalance between the cost of living and the real wages that workers were paid. So of course, we won't go into the consequences of poverty. These are easily recognized. So poor people are less likely to be healthy. Um, they are lacking money for anything else than just the basic needs. They cannot afford leisure activities, entertainment, going on vacation. They face an elevated risk of medical condition because of maybe not eating healthy food the price. Those who are unemployed are more likely to, I don't know, maybe smoke or consume more alcohol or eat unhealthier. So the unhealthy habits generally have been shown to go hand in hand with poverty. And they also affect the next generation because seeing your parents struggle with poverty, it's also a discouraging sign for the younger generation. And of course, poor children face more limited educational opportunities compared to people who are well off. Okay, this is for today. It was an interesting article and an interesting statistics. So it's sad to see that even one of the top EU economy, Germany, here the poverty rate is rising to record high. So until next time, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Thank you.